Hey, good Tuesday morning for you, Mizzou fans. Hey, I'm not there. There I am. Couple technical issues every now and then. You know, we do things on the fly here, but I am now on your screen. I am Gabe DeArmond, PowerMizzou.com publisher. This is Tiger Recruiting Tuesday, brought to you by Brandon Barnes and USA Mortgage. Brandon Barnes, the former Mizzou football player, played linebacker and safety back at Missouri in the early 2000s. He is now in the mortgage game at USA Mortgage, and I tell you what he can do for you. He's going to give you low rates, a great product. He's going to give you better personal customer service than anywhere else around, and you can apply at showmemortgage.com. There it is. You see his email address, you see his office phone number, you see his cell phone number, you see his physical address. Like, that's customer service. We just gave you 4 ways to get in touch with him. You could send a carrier pigeon to his place, whatever you want to do. Get in touch with Brandon Barnes, USA Mortgage, 573-818-2772, showmemortgage.com to apply. Get all of your house and home needs taken care of. And now, look, I managed to get one person on the screen, and now I've managed to get 2 people on the screen. I'm like a technological wizard here. Things are looking up. Sean Williams joining us now, PowerMizzou.com recruiting editor. And Sean, we were talking in our extensive pre-show meeting. This is kind of one of those weeks where, like, recruiting's never dead, but it's a little bit slower than some other weeks.
Yeah, this is definitely a slow period of recruiting. Obviously, dead period right now. Things will change as of tomorrow. I think the staffs are able to, at least at midnight tonight, they're able to directly contact the 2023 recruits. So there'll be some news probably popping off out there. I don't know. Some kids will be checking their phones at midnight. Some others won't. So we'll know all about that and everything. Obviously, Missouri's got their first game this weekend, so there'll be some visitors there, I'm sure. You know, and I'm sure Max Wisner, and like we said, Max Wisner, Isaac Thompson, they'll probably be there.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be some other local kids there too. So we'll try to follow up with them. But yeah, I mean, high school season starting, so that's gave us a little bit of juice. We've been out and covered some games. Gabe, you were probably at one of the higher profile games this past weekend, so it was cool to really see a report on that. You got to caught up with the man himself,
yes.
Luther Burden.
Yes, Luther Burden was extremely excited to discuss his recruitment with me, as you can tell. Shut that down, like literally the second I asked. He shut it down. Now, another reporter talked to him about it, and he actually didn't even let that guy finish the question. So I made more progress than some people did, but Luther wasn't going to talk about it. And that's fine. That's what we expected. You know, it was more about just, hey, we had to ask, and I wanted to see the kid in person. And, Sean, you've gone to a lot of games, and, you know, sometimes you go to a game, especially with a kid who's not a quarterback and maybe just isn't really involved or doesn't get the ball, or he kind of underwhelms you a little bit. And then sometimes you go to a game and a kid drops back to return a punt, and the first time he touches the ball, he breaks some poor kid's ankles and goes 85 yards with it. And you say, all right, I've seen all I need to see. He's very good.
Yeah, I think and that's kind of the cool thing about, you know, and you can't really, I guess, you know, judge a kid's overall ability on one game watched. Right. But when you do go to these games, it does give you a sense of what you're looking at. And, you know, is the kid, you know, kind of overwhelming or underwhelming in his performance. Now, there's going to be some off games here and there, but, you know, I mean, you can go see size-wise. Does he match up well? Does he dominate when he's supposed to be dominating? Things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think you got it. I mean, you honestly, you got it on both ends. I mean, you just got a swell of talent there in East St. Louis. Obviously, you know, Burden takes that first, you know, kickoff return, 80-plus yards for a touchdown. But, hey, look, CBC's got a 2023 kid, Jeremiah Love, that's he's pretty equally talented and probably flying under the radar. I know Missouri really liked him when he camped this summer, so that's another one to keep an eye on in the 2023 class as well.
Yeah, and Tyler Gant may have had the best game of anybody, defensive lineman. He's got about 10 offers. Jeremiah McClellan has like 6 offers from CBC. We know about all the East St. Louis kids, but you know what I was struck by being at that game, and I talked about this a little bit with Mitch yesterday on our show, is you kind of – like Luther Burden is held up on a pedestal on a different level, even by the other kids in St. Louis. Even the other players kind of seem to look at him. And, Sean, I know you've talked to every Missouri commit you've talked to for like the last 4 weeks. Is like, Yeah, there's this kid who's decommitted from Oklahoma, and it's like we were joking beforehand that fans don't seem to know Missouri's recruiting anybody except Luther Burden. I'm not sure Missouri knows Missouri's recruiting anybody but Luther Burden right now. I mean, this is as coordinated an effort and as all in as anything I've seen.
Yeah, that's definitely the talk, and obviously we've been focusing a lot on the in-state kids, these past couple of weeks, with me going to St. Louis, covering some jamborees and talking to Marquise Gracial, Isaac Thompson. I mean, they both said, look, we're Luther Burden, we're going after him.
Right.
So I think that's just, yeah, I mean, I think, just kind of those kids growing up together and knowing each other, coming up the ranks. I mean, I think that goes a long way. And obviously, Burden's got a lot of clout being as highly touted as he is. So, I mean, those other kids take notice of it. And, hey, look, if you decommit from Oklahoma and, he's visited Missouri 3 or 4 times this summer and Missouri's got a good shot there, yeah, they're going to keep recruiting him. And that's a good thing for Missouri, man.
Yeah.
You want your top dudes recruiting the top dudes, and they're definitely going after Burden, and Burden's one of the best.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when he's here again. Like, I'm confident he'll be here again. He's taken 4 officials. Mm-hmm. 1 is not scheduled to Missouri. Like you said, he's already been here 4 times. I'm confident at some point he's going to be in the stands for a football game this year. Now, we'll see when that is.
Right.
And if it's more than 1, I think that's pretty telling. Right? If he's just kind of consistently showing up in Columbia, that really is going to tell you everything you need to know. But again, they are recruiting other kids, and September 1st, you mentioned is the first time coaches can reach out to 2023 kids. You do recruiting stuff for a lot of different sites on our network. I mean, is that still a thing where it's like 12:01 coaches can text kids and kids start like, are coaches sending out 32 text messages at midnight, or is it kind of like, it's cool, I'll wake up at 7:30 tomorrow and we'll take care of that?
No, it's still a thing, man. I mean, seriously, it is. Yeah. I don't know what Missouri's approach is going to be but I mean, I would think they would at least send a message, at least one, at midnight, and maybe all the.
It's no good to be that GA that they tell, like, yo, I know you've been breaking down game film for 17 days, but you got to be up at 12 a.m., man. You don't get to sleep tonight. We pay you a good $32,000 a year.
Right, but I mean, you kind of hear that. I don't know what Missouri's approach and other schools are going to be, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of messages being sent out at 12:01 tonight. That's for sure. Now, whether they get responses, and it might just be like, hey, like with guys like Caden Green. I mean, just be like, drink with somebody, say, hey man, it's 12:01. We just want to, just want to reach out and say hi. We'll talk to you later. Stuff like that. So, but yeah, there'll be plenty. And there'll be kids that are going to stay up past midnight tonight, and they're going to tell us all about it on Twitter.
Right. It's not going to. I mean, we'll see it tomorrow morning, but something that just like I thought about. I don't expect you to know the answer, and ultimately it doesn't matter. But say you're a coach in like Pennsylvania, and you're recruiting a kid in Colorado. Do you get to text him at 12:01 Pennsylvania time, or you got to wait till 12:01 Colorado time?
That is a great question, and one I don't know the answer to, and how they use the time zones there. If it's allowed to, if you can, send him. Does it have to be the kids' time zone?
I would think it's got to be the kids' time zone, because otherwise the people in the East time zone, like they get the jump on everybody.
They get a head start. Yeah,
I mean,
a head start. So,
don't get me wrong. I've never heard a kid say, well, that Steph texted me at 12:01. The other one waited till 12:15. So that's why I decided. I mean, we're making a little too much of this. I just was curious about it.
Yeah, I think some staffs can probably get away with waiting till the next morning to take stuff out.
Right.
So.
Some staff, like, hey, if you're John Calipari, you can just come in like a week before signing day, be like, I know we never talked to you, but we'd really like you, man, and you sign the kid.
Hey man, we missed on some guys. We won't really say that to his face, but like, hey man, we really need a forward, man. You really fit the bill.
We don't tend to dip into the 20s for kids, but like, you're the number 21 player in the country. You got a chance to be good. What the heck, man? We got a spot.
We got some veterans coming back finally for the first time,
Right.
So
right. I'm trying to replace them. I don't want those seniors out on the floor this year. So once again, real quick, we're gonna spend the second half of this show answering your questions, and it's gonna be a little shorter today because I've got to go over for Eli Drinkwitz's press conference this afternoon. I'm talking to Desiree Reed-Francois. So tonight we get Steve Wilkes and defensive players. We got a busy day here, so we're trying to get this show done a little early, but do want to thank once again Brandon Barnes at USA Mortgage for being the presenting sponsor of this show every Tuesday throughout football season, and really at least probably through early signing day, which is going to be about a week before Christmas, and we will be following Mizzou's recruiting efforts, and we want you to follow Brandon, the former linebacker / safety turned mortgage banker at USA Mortgage here in Columbia. 573-590-0001 is his cell phone number. You can get a hold of him there. He's going to give you low rates, great customer service. Huge Mizzou fan. He's on our message boards a good amount. He reads all the things you guys have to say and probably even agrees with some of them. So, you call him and talk about that and hit Brandon up. At least give him a chance to earn your business before you look somewhere else. Gotten to know Brandon a little bit here in the last few years and think you will definitely be happy if you go that route for your mortgage. So, like I said, we got a few people watching live, and I'm really bad at reminding people to do this. If you're here watching live, again, we know it's the middle of the day. We know you're really just trying not to do your job. You're hiding. You got your AirPods in. You're hiding from your boss. Just hit the like button while you're here. Hit the subscribe button. Kind of let people know what we're doing. It does help. It makes it more visible. We archive all these shows on the site for you guys, and then I also turn every one of them into a podcast. So there's a lot of different ways to watch and listen, but make sure to, if you are here, hit the like button while you're here. If you're listening on a podcast, subscribe to the podcast. Leave only 5-star reviews. If you can find a way to leave a 6-star review, please do that. No 4-star reviews, no 3-star reviews. We don't play that game. We don't like that anymore. So only 5 stars and above. We'll hit up your questions from the guys that are here with us. Kyle wants to know how the 2023 kids are viewing Missouri. You got to imagine they put some importance on the big linemen in the area. And yeah, I mean, it's funny how you can kind of identify, Sean, almost a year or two in advance. What's the big spot in this class, right? Sometimes you got a quarterback that you know about. Last year it was East St. Louis with Macon and Lovett, and now Keon says Lewis, and in 2023, it's clearly the offensive line. I mean, I think it's 3 top 100 and 4 top 200 offensive linemen in the class if you include East St. Louis in the area.
Right, yeah. I mean, O-line's definitely going to be, I guess, the splash position. At least that's the position that Missouri is in on a lot of those kids. Really good right now. You guys like Caden Green, Logan Reichard, Miles McVay. Those are guys that have visited multiple times. They're top 100 guys, top 250 guys. So, I mean, you kind of look at that, and everybody's kind of on our boards really salivating at the fact that you could get two or three of those guys, or at least 2 of the 3, and that's a pretty good start to a class. When you get some top-ranked offensive linemen, that's probably going to help out getting some quarterbacks, some running backs, right, et cetera, on the offensive side of the ball.
Especially because it's a position that Missouri's had some good ones. They generally haven't gotten super highly rated offensive linemen outside of Evan Boehm a few years ago. But it's not. They've taken some guys that weren't highly rated and turned them into really good players. So obviously they recruited it well. But it's also the last couple of years has kind of been the position that we've looked at not only on the roster but on the recruiting trail and said you're gonna have to hit big here sometime soon. And 2023 is the chance to hit big. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to couple that with what kind of success they have this year, and if they obviously, finish above 500, go to a bowl game, and they're trending in the right direction. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a positive even for guys like Caden Green. And Caden Green, you got, it seems like there's always a mention of Oklahoma, Missouri with him. So you kind of will let down with Logan Reichard. He told Mitchell over the weekend, "Hey, I've got a good relationship with Georgia and Missouri." So Miles McVay's been at Missouri quite a few times. He calls it a great place to call home. So you're already in pretty deep with 3 of those guys, and they're 3 of the top guys in next year's class. So
yeah, and if you're talking about a roster that by that point could include Tyler Macon, Dominic Lovett, and Luther Burden, I've got to imagine that would be helpful in recruiting Miles McVay to Columbia.
Yeah, and you just kind of talk about how Drinkwitz is kind of putting a gate up around these in-state kids, and just kind of mending those fences and building those relationships. I mean, he's obviously done a great job in last year's class, this year's class, tremendous. Next year's class may go above and beyond, from what we've seen so far. So.
Another in-state kid, Ken Hutton, is asking about thoughts on DJ Wesselak. There's some more rumors on our message board. Look, he may end up in Missouri. Look, I don't think anything's ever changed with DJ Wesselak. He's publicly not putting Missouri in his list of top schools, but we have said all along Missouri is going to be in consideration. And in the end, it kind of depends on when he wants to commit, because if he waits till the second week in December to commit, some of those options that appear to be there right now are, frankly, probably not going to be there in mid-December.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a longer he waits. I know that, obviously we're talking about he doesn't want to stay in state, but, hey, look, Missouri's still talking to him. He seems to be, responding to that communication as well. And, yeah, it's like you said, Gabe, the longer he waits, the more his options are going to dry up. They're not going to sit around and wait for a guy like him. I know he's a top guy.
And that's not really a commentary on DJ Wesselak. That's true of anybody that's outside the top 30.
Yeah. Some of these guys, I mean, look, you got to secure your spots. And, if you don't do it and you continue to kind of draw out the process, you can draw it out up to a certain point. But when you go a little bit beyond that point and you get closer to signing day, you're not going to have a lot of options left because, coaching staffs are not going to sit around and wait for you to make a decision.
And that's what fans always complain about, decommitments. But the reason decommitments happen is because kids do know, hey, man, I got to get a spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit and make sure, worst case scenario, I know I'm going here to this D1 school. And then I'm going to go ahead and shop around and make sure I did the right thing, and if I find something better, I'm going to jump. But if I didn't, at least I know I got this. And coaches hate it maybe, but coaches have created this by the way they recruit. And the fact that they're out there offering 250 kids by September 1st, I mean, that's simple math.
Yeah. I
can do math. 25 is less than 250. I don't even think that's math. I think that's just common sense.
Right.
That's just numbers.
That's a common sense statement there, Gabe.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned coaches created it. Yeah, I mean, it's just recruiting, man. That's just how it works. Some kids are smarter than others in terms of how they view recruiting. It's like, hey, I've got a spot here with this team. I'm going to take it right now, but I'm still going to look around and see if better options come about during the fall. And if I got better options, I'll decommit. But if I don't, hey, I'm locked into a spot already. So, some kids take that, some kids will take that approach. Others will kind of wait it out like DJ Wesselak's doing. And, the longer, when you're in a situation like that, the longer you wait, the more your spots are going to dry up at other places. So.
Yeah, and there are a handful of kids look, Luther Burden he got a spot next July if he wants one. He can wait that long. But most kids aren't Luther Burden. So, Ed wants to know if Missouri's recruiting a punter for 2022. Not that I know of. I think that might be kind of a thing that it's like, hey, in December, if we got an extra spot and there's something there, cool. But punter generally isn't really a position you take early in the process.
They've had some kickers and I think some punters come in and work out for them during the summer. I think we had especially I think in late July, I think I saw 3 or 4 maybe posts that they come in and worked out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a spot they're going to definitely use a scholarship on. It's going to be more of a, hey, prefer, like your usual, hey, you got a preferred walk-on spot or a walk-on spot. Maybe, you can earn a spot or a scholarship in a couple of years or so. So it'll be a situation like that. They're not going to throw a scholarship at a punter or kicker this year, I don't believe.
And that could change if the NCAA does come in and say, hey, you got 5 more scholarships this year across the board. Okay, then maybe Missouri says, cool, we got room to add one right now. But under the crunch with all the COVID stuff that they've got, I'm not sure that's where they go until they know they have more spots. And Ken brings up a good point. Luther Burden punted for East St. Louis. He kicked off too. Just have him do that, man. He do everything. Have him play quarterback. Have him throw the ball to himself. All those things.
It's important. it's important to have those emergency punters, those
really
versatile
is.
guys, skill players that can actually punt or punted in high school. So,
He's like the second baseman who comes in when it's 13-1, and he's like, yo, I pitched in junior college. I could go throw an inning for you. Brian brings up a good question. And I'll say up front, I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if you do, Sean. Some insight into the recruitment of Paris Patterson. We've got him as number 166 in the country for next year, offensive lineman out of East St. Louis. He's monstrous. That's the biggest high school offensive line that's ever existed. But I've never really heard his name until a couple weeks ago. Do you know, whether Missouri's really looking or whether other schools are really looking? And if not, why not?
I don't know a lot about Paris Patterson, to be honest with you. And he's a guy that I did want to do a little bit more research on here pretty soon, at least reach out to him and see what the interest level is in Missouri. I think he visited during the summer with Miles McVay at least one time. So obviously I don't think he got an offer or anything like that. And I don't know who else is kind of recruiting him. Like I said, he's one of those 2023 kids that's kind of, he's big in stature. He plays with Miles McVay. It's obviously a lot of intrigue there, and he's got some offers. So I'm kind of curious, who's kind of sticking out to him so far. But I have not been able to reach. I haven't reached out to him yet. It's one of those guys I plan on reaching out to him here pretty soon. So.
And I will say, I was talking to some people before the game because it was crowded at CBC last week, so I got there by like 5:30. So there was some time to hang out and talk to people, and there are people that will tell you they think that Paris Patterson's East St. Louis's best offensive lineman, not Miles McVay. So, it's interesting. It's definitely a guy to keep a name on. We don't, look, it's, we're still messing 2022 class. There's a lot of kids in 2023. We do our best to stay on top of everyone. Sometimes there's a kid that is just kind of like, what's going on? I remember 6 months ago, everybody was asking why Missouri hadn't offered Miles McVay yet, and now they have, and they're in there. So I don't think it doesn't mean they won't offer him. It's not necessarily a huge concern, but it is interesting. We have him as a top 200 kid and doesn't yet have an offer. So,
well, you talk about that, and you mentioned like Tyler Gant earlier, the defensive lineman out of CBC. He visited Missouri this summer, but they didn't offer him, or they haven't offered him yet. He's got like 8 other Power 5 offers. So, some of these it takes a while. Maybe Missouri wants to see a little bit more film on him, for the season before they extend an offer. So
and there's
just kind of going back to the Paris Patterson, and they waited a while to offer Miles McVay. So, and people were kind of wondering why they were slow playing him, but there's reasons for that. You want to see him in person, or maybe you want to see a little bit more film on him. So
right. Every year slow playing gets a little bit earlier, right? Why haven't you offered this kid by the end of his sophomore year in high school?
Well, hey, Missouri wasn't slow playing the 2026 quarterback out of Arkansas. They didn't slow play him.
That's true. I heard they were down the road from my house checking out Mill Creek Elementary. Casey Woods was scouting recess the other day, watching the funnel ball games. So, but Sean, I don't know. You back on the road this week, or do we know yet?
This week, not for Missouri. I've got the Sam Horn game pegged for 2 weekends from now. So
gotcha. Not
this weekend, but next weekend I'll make the shortish trip to Rome, Georgia, and hopefully that game doesn't get canceled. I know Horns. I know their game against Sprayberry got canceled. I think Sprayberry had like some COVID issues and had to forfeit their game. So, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. So hopefully I'll get that. Hopefully I'll get down there in a couple weeks, and I'll be able to profile Sam Horn, watch his game, take some highlights, and catch up with him a little bit after their game against Rome, Georgia. So
perfect. Well, there you go, guys. Again, we got some other obligations today. Got to talk to Eli Drinkwitz. Got to talk to Desiree Reed-Francois. So we're gonna have plenty of stuff for you on Power Mizzou. But appreciate you checking in with us here. Appreciate Brandon Barnes. Once again, last time, USA Mortgage, bbarnes at usa-mortgage.com, showmemortgage.com online. Couple of phone numbers there. He can take care if you want to refinance, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to sell a house, whatever you're doing. Get in touch with Brandon Barnes, and he's going to hook you up with some great customer service. The lowest rates you can get if you are looking at a refi or buying a new house. So hook up with Brandon, hook up with us here every week. Tomorrow morning, Mitchell Forty going to join me for the 573 report. Our pick show is going to debut later this week, and Saturday, Hey, Saturday 1:30, first pregame show of the season. So appreciate all of you guys being here. Before you check out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will catch up with you later on.